this series talk, AVA invite our college having an overseas study dialogue with our current graduate alumni. So today's the talk dialogue is Sophy from San Francisco, and I have been studying in USA, so I would give some overall very formal presentation, the study information. So let's Sophy to introduce herself. Okay.
Okay. Then I'm very happy and feel excited being here and sharing my experience in the last 10 years with you guys. And I hope this could help some of you picking the right path for your future. And a brief introduction of myself. I graduated from AVA in 2010. And then I completed a 3 years master program of architecture in UC Berkeley in California, America. And then I worked as a designer and a project architect from 2013 to 2019 in Los Angeles and San Francisco. And I was a licensed architect in California. And so, yeah, that's about me. And here I prepared some questions you might be very interesting to know. And we could go through these questions first. And everyone feel free to ask questions or or interrupt me anytime if you have more questions. So is that okay if I start right now, or should we do more introduction?
Okay, just go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. The first, I would like to talk about why I picked architecture as a further study. So I really need to thank the visual arts program in BU, which provided us opportunities to get in touch with various art and design directions. And although we don't have enough time to focus on only one field and become a professional of that field, but it does help a lot to broaden our horizons and open our minds. And I've always been interested in design. So back in AVA, I picked many Peter Benz courses like spatial design, experimental spatial design, furniture design. So maybe because Peter has the architecture background, so he will teach some basic stuffs about architecture, and which was very inspiring and interesting. And I really like the word space. It shows a absorbing experience that architecture could create, just like art. And since then, I think I found my path. And I believe design is all related, and no matter it is furniture, building, interior products, they're just like in different scales in my eyes. And I think if I know how to design a building, then I probably could easily pick up other designs. And I probably should have no problem like finding a decent job in future and feed myself. So that's why I picked architecture, and it turned out like it was a wise decision. So far, yeah. And next, I would like to talk about why I picked America. So first, I need to thank like BU. They have like this metropolitan attachment program. When I was in school that time, I don't know if they're still running this program or not, but this program provided opportunities for us to do like summer internships at several cities in US. And at that time, I picked San Francisco, and I had a very good impression on California, and including its climate and beautiful environment. And in Bay Area, San Francisco is located in Bay Area, and there are many Asian towns. And compared to like Mid or South America, like California has more diversities in cultures, which is easier for foreigners to blend in. And America itself, I think, is like immigrants country, and including all races, plus like back then, their policy was very friendly to international students who likes to stay and work here. So compared to Europe, I mean, like it is easier to like continue stay and work after you graduate. So that's why I pick California. I pick US. And so you probably, like many of you might be very interested in how do you switch from like art, like fine arts to architecture. So basically, like I did a little bit research and I found many universities in US, they provided this like a 3 years program for applicants without any architecture background. So I think that is the right program for us to apply. But I don't really find those programs provided in like European, architecture school. Maybe I was wrong, or maybe I didn't do enough research. But like most available program like this are in US. And how to pick the school? So sorry, I skipped this question. So the requirements for applying for architecture, the first one is a language. And that time, that was like 10 years ago when I was applying for that, most schools, they required the minimum score of 93 of TOEFL and the minimum score of 6.5 for IELTS. And plus, like some schools required a GRE, and some school have some other like prerequisite courses. And the most important thing is your portfolio. So and other some other like mixed stuff like a personal statement, like a reference letter from professors or your friends, like that. So so next, so what how to pick the school? Um, Basically, like I I there are like two type of school in U.S. which includes comprehensive university like Harvard, Yale, Stanford, those UC series, and also they have the design institute like Pratt, Parsons, RISD, Rhode Island School of Design. And both type of schools, they have the architecture program. Um, there are not that much difference though. But some architecture program in Design Institute even ranked higher than universities. And so it depends. It depends on which program and which school you pick. And but in university, you got to know more people from different backgrounds. And in a Design Institute, you got just know like people who has art background and design background. So, and most universities requires GRE, while the Design and Art Institute, they does not require that. So that is the main difference when you apply for that. And some program like the one I was in requires some like a college level mathematics and physics course taken. Actually, at that time, I took a calculus class during the first year in BU, and I made up the physics class at the local city college first year, the 1 year after get enrolled into UC Berkeley. So you don't have to like be afraid. It's not that harsh. It just sounds very, complicated, but there's always a way to fulfill those requirements. In fact, to apply for architecture, the most important thing is the portfolio. So the other requirements are just for, the administrative to filter out the unqualified applicants before handing your stuff to the admission committee. So the portfolio is the key. And it doesn't matter if your portfolio is not very architecture. They actually accept all design and art related works, and they just want to see your potential, not your professional. So, and there's an interesting story I heard back that time, like there's a chef who made a portfolio just showing the desserts he designed, and he got enrolled to Yale. So you know, nothing is impossible. So just don't be afraid. And next, like there are some tips to picking the program. As I said, like programs are not that different between schools. And some school has its specific strength. Like UC Berkeley is like well known for its sustainable design, and like MIT is well known for its digital fabrication. Like you can just do some research online and find out who are teaching the program and the backgrounds of the professors. That will help a little bit to make the decision, but it doesn't really matter. At that time, I didn't really do enough research on those. So I know some people likes to pick a program with thesis project. Like the one in Berkeley, we have the 1 year thesis that we could pick whatever topic we like to study and get help from professors that we pick. And the first half year, we do research, writing papers like about design theories. And the second half, we have studios to visualize our ideas and make it presentable to people. And the end, before graduation, we will have this final presentation to public. So someone would really prefer a thesis project like that, so they can do whatever they want. And but no matter how program works, as the lessons I learned, the most important thing is building networks in school. So maybe years later, someone you know from school could become your partners, your co-workers, or you might need a professor as a referee to get a job working for like some famous architects, or get a job at the professor's studio, you know, like, and in most cases, like if you have friends working in the firm that you really want to get in, and instead of applying for a job online, they could just help you to send your stuff directly to the employer. And that will be much easier and faster to get interview in that way. And if you give you the interview, more chance you will get the offer. So I got 2 offers from big firms like that, in that way. And last, like I was I would like to talk about scholarship. So back in 10 years ago, when I applied, they are not allowed us to apply for scholarship. The scholarship will be assigned to you instead of you apply for it. So it depends on like how much they like your portfolio or other backgrounds. If you are very outstanding, then they will assign some scholarship to you. And that time I was very lucky that they liked my portfolio, and I received like a 30,000 US dollars for, you know, for my scholarship. Yeah. And if you're interested in that, what kind of portfolio that they like, and they could accept like for architecture study, here I had some like pages picked from my portfolio back then. And you can see I put like, this is like a year 1 sculpture class. And I did this like a weird, I don't know, tree sculptures. And this is like some batik painting, like when I was traveling. And this one, that one, this, and that one is all like exercise projects in Peter's class. And then also you see I put some like glass blowing projects and ceramics. And this is also from Peter's class, furniture design. And this is some like drawings to show them I have the capability of draw. And yeah, some Chinese painting, you know, some just random stuff, and I put together as my portfolio, and turns out they like it. So I got very lucky. Yeah. Okay. And oh, by the way, like I learned some like software like SketchUp, very easy to learn and free for download, and to just to make up some things like architecture like. And then yeah, it's very basic stuff. Yeah. Okay. Uh, Next, I would like to talk about the graduate school life in UC Berkeley. And first, I think maybe many people would like to know how to make extra money, to support your study abroad. I mean, the first thing that you have to be aware that is that the student visa you get has certain restrictions on what kind of works you can, what kind of job you can get. It does not allow international students to work outside the campus. They only allowed us to, teaching in school, being a TA, and actually that way could help a lot to offset parts of the tuition fee. And there are very few scholarships for applying, but because like most of the scholarship, as I said, like are for US citizens and local residents, and not many are for international students to apply. So, and and what is the tuition fee? That is a a little bit expensive, I have to say. So the tuition fee for international student back in 10 years ago, it was 30,000 US dollars per year. That was about like 240,000 Hong Kong dollars per year. And as for living, back to like 9, 10 years ago, housing we could find nearby the campus is about 1,000 US dollars per month. Which is like 8,000 Hong Kong dollars per month, and is about like $10 per meal if you're eating outside. And plus supplies we need to buy for the studio, for the class. Overall, I will say it's about like 22,000 per year. Like that is US dollars on living expense. And plus the tuition fee is overall is about like 50 to 52,000 per year US dollars back then, which equals to about like 400,000 Hong Kong dollars per year. That is including your living expense and your tuition fee. Yeah. And next, I think, yeah, so the student visa, that if you hold the Hong Kong passport or Macau passport, they will give you 5 years, that within 5 years you don't need to renew it. And also after you graduate, they give you this 1 year OPT. We call OPT, that's actually an internship working permission after graduate. And right now, because many more and more students cannot get the working visa in a year, so many schools fight for their students to get the STEM extension. So for certain majors that you could have like more than 1 year, like 3 years OPT period. And yeah, so but you have to check like if the program you pick is qualified for STEM. It's not every major is qualified for that. So if you're not, then you still only get 1 year OPT after you graduate. And within this 1 year, if you don't get your working visa, then you have to leave. Then talking about the program that I experienced in Berkeley. So it's basically have two parts. One part is studio. That is every semester we have this studio class, which we get projects to design. And that will take probably like 5 to 6 credits. And plus other courses like theory, design theory, building system, construction, like a structure, all those courses, like probably like a 2 to 3 credits per course. And the size of the program is at that time was like a 20 people, 20 people, yeah, 20 people. And some people might dropped off after the first year. Yeah. And And in UC Berkeley, they do not provide a internship gap year for students who want to gain more working experience before they graduate. But they did have this like 1 year travel scholarship on some like on selected research topic, but it's only assigned to like very few selected students, which is like probably only 1 to 2 or 3 people per year. So it's very competitive, and not everyone could get it. Yeah, and a very special experience I got from during a UC Berkeley is we got this like studio travel with professors and classmates. So that was in our second semester, and each year they will pick a different country with different topic to study. And my year they picked France and study Corbusier, the ancestor of the modern architecture. So we spent I like nice at the church he designed, and we spent nice at the apartment he designed. It's just like a lot like memorable moments, spending with your classmates and professors. It's kind of very special. And afterwards that we still had time to travel individually for another week. I remember I went to Switzerland, Spain, and Italy, and each of us got like a 3,000 US dollars sponsor from the school for this like 2 weeks travel and time off. Yeah, so another special experience I get is, they do provide this very great lecture series. They will invite famous like designer architects to giving lectures, and you get the chance to talk them in person, and you get the chance to submit your portfolio right in person to them if you want work for them. And also they having like this very nice workshop which is equipped by with laser cutter, CNC machine, like 3D printer, wood shops that you can just fabricate whatever you want, and it's very handy for that, like for model making. And during summer that I got this uh, um, like internship for one of the professor, and got to learn a lot in her studio. And also I get like one summer vacation, I got this like a teaching job. And for the first time I got to give a lecture in like a big auditorium, and I had this like super panic and excited and mixed the feelings, which I never want to have it again. So that is all about like like students life in UC Berkeley. And most time we just like spending in the studio, like working and working. And yeah, it's a very tough program, and but you got learn a lot and grow a lot. Yeah. So this is like, if you're interested in what we are doing as an architecture student, you might either visit my website that was have some of my works, or I picked some projects we did in studio. Those are solo projects, and some are like collaborated projects, but most are solo. So you got to see like we spend a lot of time like rendering programs, making diagrams, plan, like making some like beautiful graphics. Yeah. And yeah, this is like a renovation projects we did. Yeah. Well, we can like look at more if you are interested in later on, since I don't know if we have enough time to look each of them. And this is some like crafting, model making I made during school. This is like one of the relief model made for the professors. Now it's hanging on his studio walls. And this is like, study models that I made, for the design projects. Yeah, so this is some, yeah, community clouds. This is one of the, yeah, okay. Next, I would like to talk a little bit about life in US in this last 10 years. First, I think while talking about life in California, it is very well known for its developed, like very well developed highway road system. So I have to say this is a country of road trips, and it's very convenient driving to a forest nearby to spend the weekend. And myself, I'm not a very social person, so I spend most of my vacations and time off on road trips or backcountry. And gradually and luckily, I developed a backpacking hobby. So I always do backpacking with my dog like that. And, like spending like few days alone in the forest. And you just like gonna be very appreciative about like what California can provide you. It is just like amazing, stunning, beautiful nature scenes. And yeah, and this is Point Reyes, a national seashore. And and I also got to travel a lot outside the state, like to New Mexico. New Mexico is a state of U.S. It's not really Mexico. It's a white sand desert, and Alaska to watch the bears eating salmon. And this is like a Sequoia National Parks. Like you got to see those giant trees. Yeah, or you can rent an RV and driving around. Oregon. Yeah. So it's like a lot to explore around, and you get to like find a lot potential from yourself. Yeah, it is yeah, a big how to say, like a gain that during this like 10 years living in US. And as you can see here, this is some photos that during the trips to Europe. But I actually had a lot of photos I take, but they're my all stored in my old computer. So I download some image online, but it shows the place we visit. Like this is the church that we spent the night with those monks. And, like this is, uh, one of the most master well-known masterpiece by Kobu. And yeah, and I got a chance to like spend a night in this spa designed by Peter Zumthor in Switzerland. And we had this meeting on top of the Marseille apartment. It is very very memorable. Yeah, and it's very very valuable experience. And here you can see some photos that shows the working experience, working environment. And this is the first job I got in Los Angeles, a local architecture firm, and I was sitting there. And yeah, they have the model shop. And this is my last job in San Francisco downtown, and they have this like huge, community area in the office that people like when we work like overtime, we got this like lunch, dinner together. Yeah. So, and this is like the studio. I had an intern with the professor. And a place I live in Emerview, which is by Berkeley and very close to where I work in San Francisco. Yeah. So, okay. And then when we move to talking about like working in US, I had like about 6 years working experience in both in San Francisco and Los Angeles. So we call Los Angeles as South California because the climate is very, very hot and dry. It's like a desert. But living expense, so Los Angeles, South California is cheaper than the Bay Area. And Bay Area was like occupied by those high technology in industry, and Los Angeles has more like cultural stuff and arts and design, and has more like a free space for a freelancer to survive. Yeah. And I've been working in 3 firms so far, and they have a very small startup office, and one of them is like a mid-sized, like 20 people, 20 to 30 people's staff, and the other one is like a really big uh, architecture firm. So there are benefits and downside, and like 2 sides of like big firm and small firm. So big firm, like you got better benefits, and it's easier to get visa sponsor from them. But in small firm, you get to learn very, very fast, because you have chance to follow a project from start to the end. And in which in the big office, they will just working you most time just on one specific area, like training you, like just do building facade or just do like construction details. So it's like very less chance than small firm if you want to follow a project from start to the end and to learn the whole like cycle of how people do architecture. Also about next, I think maybe most of people are interested in how much like the income. Okay, so um, how to say? So in 2018, I just did research online. It shows the average income for individual in US is about 60,000 US dollars per year before tax. So this is the average income for individual, okay? And architecture is not a high income industry compared to technology or finance. I remember like 7 years ago when we just came out of graduate school, the best offer we could get from big company like SOM, Gensler, was like only about like 50 to 55K. I mean, 50 to 55,000 US dollars per year. And usually like smaller firm was even lower. It's about like 45K. Okay, that is before like a 20% tax rate, right? And while the like fresh graduates working at Google or Facebook, like like how much they earn, like they can easily get to 6 figure, like 100K annually, and which is more than like twice than architects. So yeah. And for architects with like a 5 to 6 years experience, licensed, and could earn about like 80K to 90K per year in Bay Area, I'll say, and about 70K, a bit lower, in Southern California, like Los Angeles. So this is about the income, right? And spending. So after working, so you got to spend more on living expense. You know, um, Before, as when I was a student, I spent like 1,000 US dollars per month, right? But after working, especially working in San Francisco downtown, then I got to spend like 2,000 per US dollars per month for housing. That is sharing kitchen and living room with another roommate. And if you want to living by yourself, that will be more pricey. It's about like 2,500 to 3,000 per month, I'll say. Sorry, yeah, 30. Yeah, right. And yeah, and you probably gonna spend more on education, like if you want to get licensed, you have to pass like 8 exams, and each exam costs you probably like a 220 US dollars. And if you fail, you have to retake it. And some firms, they have this benefit that they can reimburse you the exam fee, but some firm they don't. They have to be all out of your own pocket. So you have to like calculate all those extra expense. And okay, and next we could talk about the working visa and the green card. Maybe people are I think people are more interested in that because this is like a very complicated topic. Yeah. So, okay. So because there are more and more foreigners who want to stay and work in US, the government has to protect the jobs for US citizens, right? Like what European does. And so they create this working visa lottery. Um, oh, sorry, like H-1B is the working visa, right? So they create this H-1B working visa lottery each year in April. And at the beginning, most people, I mean, like several years ago, when I just graduated, I heard like most of people will still get selected in a lottery and get their visa. But as applicants had a significant growth recent years, the quota did not grow. Which results in only about like half of the applicants could get a visa and the other half has to leave. So if you hold a master or higher degree, you could have like two chances to roll into the lottery and have better chance to be selected than if you only have bachelor degree. And the latest report of 2020 lottery shows that only 23% get selected among those bachelor degrees, and 44% get selected as master or higher degrees. So it's like almost doubled. And this is nothing to do with your graduate school. Or with your employer. So no matter how famous you school is, it doesn't matter if you graduate from Harvard or you graduate from like a local city college or how big your sponsor company is, everyone will be treated equally in this H-1B working visa lottery. So, and another thing to be aware of is that there are certain restrictions for the working visa. One of which is your job must be your major related. You can't really do, a computer science job like and if you study design in US, it doesn't work. Okay, you have to be a designer or design related job, and there are like about uh, 2,000 to 3,000 legal fee for just filing the application. And this part of fee that is supposed to be uh, paid by your sponsor. But some small firms might not want to afford that extra cost to hire a foreigner. So they might split with you like half, or they might just ask you to pay all of those legal fees. Yeah. And also like some firms, they don't want to waste their resource and time training a foreigner, and they have to leave before they can make any contributions to the firm because of they didn't get a working visa. So many firms right now, they set up this like under table rule that only hire US citizens or people who has like had a working visa or green card. So this is like not very friendly affair to international students who just graduate from school. Yeah. And yeah, so once you get your first working visa, and it will be valid for like 3 years, and you could renew it for another 3 years, and that's it. So maximum 6 years, and no need to get into the lottery again once you get it the first time. And during this 6 years, your sponsor, your company, will need to file the green card application for you, just in order to stay after the working visa expires. Yeah, so that is about and there are also some options if you don't get the working visa and you still want to stay and maybe try another time the next year. So during this year, you are not allowed to work, right? or you're not allowed to, legally stay in US. There are a few options that you might think about. One is to find a nonprofit organization which does not require, which can issue the H-1B visa directly to you without getting into the lottery. That is one option. The other option is you just find a school and transfer back to student visa. And this school has to have this CPT program, which allows you to work as like a part-time outside the campus. But this very few schools has that program, and they're not cheap, I have to say. And another option, maybe you married with someone and your spouse has the working visa or green card, then you can apply for a spouse visa just to stay here and work. And then you get, like try another time the next year to get into the lottery again. So yeah. And this is like some like works I've done like when I was working as a designer in those studios. And I don't know if you are interested to see those, but I would like to show. This is the first job I got in Los Angeles, and I got involved into this like a two house design, and it's like has like a big overhang like above the swimming pool. And like this is in Beverly Hills, and this is some like got to chance to visit the site and to see how things get built, and also get chance to like working on some details. Yeah, something like that. My computer is getting very slow, sorry. And then also I got to learn Photoshop in my first job. I didn't really use Photoshop when I was a student, and create this like interior scene for like a spec house, and yeah, some interesting stuff. And this is the house I was studying, as a spec house in Beverly Hills. And I was like looking for building codes, like how to design the height and this is also some like conceptual design for another house. It's just like a lot of house. The first job I got, like that company has, they just do a lot like Hollywood, Beverly Hills, those luxury houses. Yeah. And also we did some competitions and some, this is a sport complex, and we won this competition. I think it's under construction right now. And this is like a teamwork. Yeah. And then my second job, I did some commercial interiors. And this is like only me and the project manager. So most the works I did. And this is probably my very first interior projects. And they have a super, super low budget. You cannot imagine how low the budget is. And we are just like struggling, like what we can make out of this. And yeah, but it turns out it's okay. Yeah. And this is like a residential remodeling, like bathrooms, kitchen, fireplace. Yeah. And this is some like unbuilt projects, it's also for housing. And this is like, like one of the stuff like you have to learn as one of the exam to get licensed, and you see how boring that is. It's all about like government departments, and you have to get which department you have to contact with and which permits you have to get to. Yeah. So yeah, and at the part-time, I also like accept like do some like a branding project as like a freelance. So I got this, I was helping a family to setting up their family business, design a logo and design like a display boards for them, yeah, and some models and my dog. And Yeah, this is a project I've been working on this for 2 years from my last firm. Yeah, this is their actually this is their biggest project ever. So you can see this is a highway in Bay Area, and this is the new campus for Microsoft in Silicon Valley. So it's like huge, and I was like mainly taking charge of this part, which is the auditorium and the conference center, and a little bit lobby. Yeah. So and for my rest of time, I spend a lot of time on like beam coordinate the whole 3D modeling system, and which is not very interesting, but I did learn a lot when I was doing this conference center here, and I got to see how it get built, but it's still under construction. And I quit before before it get completed. So I never get a chance to see how it looks after all. And this is a lobby we designed, and this is the conference room that I designed, which can be like flexible use as one room or three rooms, you know, with those sliding doors. And this is like a photo I got from one of my colleague, like showing what is looking at right now on the construction site. Yeah, and like working on lots of details, constructions, and yeah, like how the mechanical runs, like how the ducts runs. Yeah, some works, and get a chance to coordinate with like those MEP, like mechanical, plumbing, electrical engineers, landscape engineers, like a lot coordination works. Yeah. So, okay. Next, the last. Uh, Now, actually, I plan to make
Sorry, Sophie.
Yeah.
We can run a little bit longer. So maybe we will ask the people if they have the questions.
Oh,
And
okay,
after
sure.
that, you can talk about the candy from the architecture. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Peter, you have questions. You want to say something? Or another student, they will prepare the questions.
Well, I actually have to leave in a couple of minutes, so maybe I want to say something, though I don't really have any major questions at the moment. But firstly, I really like how structured Sophie's presentation is. Point for point, everything very clear, very architectural, and also very Sophie. That's how I remember her from her study times. So
Oh,
I really
thank
like
you.
that. It's really funny too. It takes me back 10 years, which I think is very, very nice. Um, Apart from that, I was looking forward to knowing what is next, sort of, because you said you quit your last job, and if I
Yeah.
understand correctly, you're currently freelancing, or you don't have a kind of an employment, I believe.
Yeah.
But for example, is that okay for in terms of your visa, or will you come back to China or go somewhere else? So so what is your current? But anyway,
Okay.
maybe if other students have more important questions, then I'm happy if other people want to ask other questions first.
They are digesting.
Okay, then
So
answer mine.
very rich.
Okay. So I'll answer Peter's question first. So okay, so actually I'm currently holding a green card, so I don't need a working visa anymore. So that is very lucky. And I'm currently in Los Angeles working as a freelance designer, and I'm learning like new tools from some 3D artists, and yeah, and I'm actually like feel like the tools I learned from architecture can easily apply to like many other design fields. So
Look at me.
I mean, like, you know, like we know Rhino, Grasshopper, you know, those uh, like Adobe Design Series, those are just like requires for like if you want to do more graphic design, if you and Photoshop, you know, and Premiere, and those kind of software that we like equip through like architecture can you know, we can use them in like product design, like interior design, furniture design. And so I think right now I'm trying to broaden my my areas and see what else I can do and what else like more interesting that I can do. Because like first I have to say that I found this like huge gap between architecture program in school and the practice in real life. I mean, in school, like 90% we learn design, like firms making really like crazy, interesting, creative stuffs. But like in practice, we spend like 90% time in like stuffs like other than design. As we grow, we spend more on coordinations, like, you know, dealing with government departments, endless repetitive modifications on design just because clients kept changing their minds, and endless details consideration to areas where people like probably will never notice or pay attention. You know, like we struggle on those things. And I would like to call, you know, architecture as like a servant industry, you know, like because in reality we're providing like service for clients and we listen to them, and at the same time we are also framed by like tons of rules and building codes. And actually the I have to say like the freedom left for us is very limited. And as time passed by, I realized that how much I missed being a creative artist and how much freedom an artist can have. You know, like architects in US is a very regional job. They gradually like develop their own business based on where they locate, like building local networks and get familiar with local rules, etc. You know, like what I mean is about like how we pick a lifestyle that most suitable to ourselves. So I myself, I'm a creative person. I like to travel a lot, explore around, like be more independent, having more freedom, you know, like having like more inspirations. And I think a freelance designer sounds very attractive to me. And maybe another option, that is another option I want to try. And now I just want to slow down because I think I spaced too fast in the last 10 years and I didn't get enough time to really think more about the change in my mind and the change in my body. You know, it doesn't mean that all past experience will be wasted. Instead, I believe those experience will help me to find another path, like hopefully a more interesting and a creative path to continue to do design and making products. And I think this will be a big circle, and I will return to it again. But
Um,
yeah, but now I just
I,
need I need to change the
my
approach.
family is my family is screaming in the back. Sorry. Sophie, if I can interrupt you for just a second, because I have to leave at 2:30 for another meeting. But
Okay.
just for the audience, for the other students, I would like to supplement exactly what Sophie has said. It really matched a lot with my own experience. I also studied architecture, but maybe a little bit different to Sophie. Already before I became an architect, or before I finished my studies, I know that I don't want to be an architect for exactly the same reasons that Sophie now is changing her mind. In architecture in university is a wonderful program. You learn a lot. It is a very hard program, I must say, but you learn a lot. You have a lot of opportunities. You have a lot of fun, but then the profession is completely not like that. And so I kind of know that maybe earlier than Sophie. And so I immediately start to freelance. I immediately start to develop in some other direction. And in the end, as we all see, I ended up as a professor in an art school, which not everybody can do and not everybody wants to do, but that's partly my circle that I made for myself. Having said that, now that I'm in the second part of my career, I begin to appreciate all the managerial, the coordination jobs and stuff like that, that maybe when I was younger, I didn't like, but now I begin to actually appreciate that they're necessary, that they're actually even interesting. So maybe now I would be a better architect than when maybe 20 years ago. But yeah, it's just the development of life. So I do want to recommend, if any of you do consider to study architecture, then that is, I think, an interesting option. And if any of you need help, then please, like Sophie 10 years ago, find me and I will try to help you to do the application and do the portfolio and that kind of thing.
Yeah, back then Peter did help me a lot.
I still have your portfolio in my office. It's in the shelf. And also, do you remember this?
Oh my God.
These are some ceramics that Sophie made for me as a thank you gift. And we still have them and we still use them. And then also come here.
Oh, hi. Hi.
When Sophie last visited me, he wasn't even born.
Oh my God.
This is the youngest one.
This is the youngest one, yes.
Wow.
Oh, so cute. Okay.
So anyway, Sophie, I am terribly sorry. I have to leave, so I cannot see the final sentences. But it was really, really nice to see you again, even though it was just by Zoom.
Okay.
We're gonna see each other
I
in
wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Peter.
Bye-bye.
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 I agree that it is always a wonderful time to talk with our privileged students and knowing they're doing better and better, and that how the overseas is started to change their life. I do think it changed your life when I see you just like a little kid in AVA at that time. So you grow up, you have your hopes, you have your further thinking on your career and your personal life, right? So I think overall you presented some kind of data, very rich and in details. So I would not like to overlap a lot, but I do also to prepare a presentation to talk about American further study. So I would also upload the PowerPoint later on. If you would like to share, you can do so. So now I will press the share. Where's the share button now? Disappeared.
I think maybe
Okay.
Sophie needs to stop her
Yeah.
sharing.
Right?
Stop
Let me
the
see.
share screen first.
Oh, I see. Okay. Pause share. Stop share. Okay, gotcha.
I
Yeah.
share mine. Where's it? Have you seen this one?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the postgraduate design degree in the United States. I checked it out more in details than when I was a student. I want to study in America. I haven't checked it out all at that time. So I could say that the U.S. Mostly divided into public school and private university. What we call the university, that means including like art institutions or college, you would get a master degree as well, compared with formal or traditional university. So public university, I'm going to talk about the USA, that Los Angeles. So I think that Berkeley is the real famous one that, like Sophy was studied, and UCLA, the art department, and San Diego department, UC Davis, and etc. So state is San Francisco. You can see all the university with a state, like the STAE. So that means it's supported by the government, local government, and it's a state university, etc. And traditional private university, including Columbia, Yale, U Boston University, those are not institutions. That means they only have the one of the department major on art area or visual art area. Of course, they have architecture. They have another area you can choose, not only the visual art. So Art College, Pratt, Rogers Island School of Design, Cal Arts, Presence. There's a lot of them. They are private and also sponsored with some funding. I have to go back to talk about that. Please note that when you're choosing a school, you should consider your own interests first. This is my suggestions. You can also consider studying architecture, architecture like Sophy after graduations. There are many art-related master courses in US. So people are welcome to transfer to film, photography, cultural management, or another subjects. University graduation is just a basic platform for you guys to look higher. This is what I think. So some people will choose which school their favorite artist is teaching in, such like Mike. He teaching in UCLA. Some, the student would like to apply the master book program because of him. And this is also the direction of your choice. And some people will choose the best department of the school. For example, like the UC David has a very strict history in community art. So local Hong Kong creator and cultural leader, Oscar Hall, he was the graduate in at UC Davis. And CalArt, California Institute of Arts, this is where I want to study, is very strict in conceptual art and short film and animation. And then what I said, the conceptual base, even they only provide formal basic skill course for 3 weeks only in a semester before the actual formal semester starting. That means they are not really interested in very basic skill. I suppose you got that requirement and that skills when you are, a degree student. Like my case is one of the teacher, Professor Michael Ashes. His course really 6 hours per section, so it should let you die. And long discussions on the individual works with students. The students have to do the presentations. And I think the CalArt is the most tight and straight program is animations. So the students often select working in industry before the graduations. So because the CalArts was established with support of Wally Disney Fund. So therefore, to not only consider what so-called top 5 or top 10 ranking, you have to consider the ranking, the behind, the straight of the school, and also where's your interest. This is the tuitions, private and the public school. So you can see if you choose the public state school, the school fee is much cheaper. So you can see, such as the Colombian is really high. This you can pay the deposit for buying a house in Hong Kong flat. So California Institute of FMA is normally 3 years of study. If you are not, you have the visual study background, such as some students, they have the, they are architect, they study science. They want to jump in the master courses, so they still have to stay in California for 3 years. So I stayed there for 2 years only. I was in CalArts in 2000, and then tuition fee that year was about 150,000 a year. So usually private school have more financial and opportunities, and some students have more fellowship. Ranking from 1,500 to 9,000 per year, especially for the second year for overseas student, depending on your, you have the good work like this. So you have to think about how to deduct that, that expense if you really have a really tight projects. Yeah, it's what I said, that the scholarship, fellowship, financial base need as so they always think about you got difficulty. Even you are overseas student, you can apply for the financial base as, but not much than the local student. Okay, so the visa that Sophie talked already, so I would not touch that part, and also the OT options, OPT options. So I have some work study offered by department at that time. So I working in the library, so I can read through the books more than the other student, especially the teacher. They will order the books. I can hold those books for half years. No one can touch that those books. But if you work in the library, I'm the first one to read it, even not the teacher. So I also working in the restaurant on campus, so I can eating there for free and packing the unsold food and back to my studio to save money. So at that time, it's like a $7 per hours payment, and excluding tax. I do not know how much for the tax at that time. So I know there are other people working in Chinese restaurant during the weekend. I'm not sure. I think it's illegal, but you know, the secret thing. Yeah. And for the considering location, living inside, I always think about that people to study, the first is the country, and the second is the city. Of course, if you really have a favorite school, so you find that school strictly, not about the, you know, the city. But the city also, you will stay there more than 2 or 3 years, provide you a wider visions to look things and open up your mind. So Los Angeles, of course, a very, you know, California, sunshine place, and you need driving license. So before you going, you are better to have international license, okay? It is very hard to call a taxi or drive a bicycle around in Los Angeles. Larger space, a hippie young, suburban city, not really tight, you know, street like the New York, but actually you having a car, you can go anywhere. You can find an interesting place. So Western Coast culture, the coffee, under the sunshine, beach, like this. So New York City, you don't have you don't need the transport license. Public transportation is very conventional, and of course, crowd of international, multicultural people, and bunch of the, you know, the gallery and activities and culture space. And I think it's more easy to find a part-time job there, no matter it's legal or illegal. So UC Davis is very famous about their UC Davis is about their farm study, but their department is very strict in community art. The area is like a village style, and you only have a bite. Be careful, people will steal your bike. Okay, think about that. So this is really, you can divide it into 3 different living styles. And consider living expenses in locations. So the dorm, so I will list something like here for your references. But my experience is when I live in dorm, the first year in California art, they provide me a very small space at like a studio. They assigned to me. So in the second year, as the, you know, high level, I was allocated an independent studio about 250 square feet. And there's also an upper floor for storage. I use it for sleeping, and I live in the studio and without spending money. And of course, there is also the San Francisco Institute of Art, like which is in the center of San Francisco City. So the assigned studio are relatively small and cannot be lived in. Okay, bear in mind. So if you choose like a half mountain, halfway to mountain, like Valencia, where my you know, school is located, is you have the more time to live in your studio. So why it doesn't work. So the last tips is about the food. I think the most of the foods are much cheaper than Hong Kong. And actually, you can imagine quite a lot of things, not compare only to Europe's country. You always think about you can find a way to find cheap food, and everything is cheaper than in Hong Kong. So, and also in America, maybe Sophy know about that. They always have the weekend, you know, the garage sale is quite popular. So people just place their old things in the garage, and people just go there straight for, you know, to pick it out. Really, really cheap. I buy a chair, 50 cents US dollar. Okay, so secondhand stuff are everywhere. They're very environmental people protecting the environment. So think about that. Okay, this is what my sharing. Now think about that. You guys have any questions? You can post to Sophy again. Where's Sophy? She disappeared.
Her
Here?
screen freezed, but I think she's here.
Okay.
My screen freezed.
Is there any questions? I will download, yeah, okay. So I just placed the PowerPoint here. So if Sophy can do it, just do it, and later on can share with more students. And also you can email me about your actually the questions, and also how to prepare the portfolio, and also do you need a recommendation letter? Just like not almost the recommendation letters is the honor project supervisor can make it, that he or she can know your work much better. I remember Sophie's her honor project is very, very strange. It's a writing paper, a bunch of paper, and talking about the AVA, Kai the environment, the campus, and talk about the angle, how she see the architect. She didn't actually do some materials work or visualize work. And I think that portfolios, she's not included in her presentation. I think this is a very quite important. That's why she got a scholarship to support her longer stay and for 3 years, because free, if you really have to pay, it's a bunch of money. Okay, but I think America, no matter how now the political situation at this moment and American culture compare with the Europe culture, and this is absolutely a very different way to see people and the idea, the why they want to stay there, especially after the Second World War. And they got a lot of talent staying that to part of the how to support the American culture growing up. So I learned a lot from them, and also they provide you the English the courses when you attend the school if you are overseas student. It is no worry about you're unable to communicate with those people. They're speaking faster than the Europe people. And then also you will train your languages, the abilities during the really long class. Always discussions more than 6 hours. So it's 4 hours. So this is my experience. Okay. So Sophie is not coming back yet. Black.
Oh, I can see myself actually. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I can't see your face, but if you can have place your presentation for our student to share, if you like, or
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Let me share my screen again.
Oh, Guy, questions.
Looks like no questions.
Keep silent. I may not really think about the school fee. They're scared. It's really less expensive than England.
What?
The tuition is less expensive in Europe, especially to Europe. You just give the 3,000 Hong Kong dollars for the registrations, and then really free. And most of the master's school, they speak English, very international. And of course, I suggest everyone to study the local languages. You got another identity. I mean, to know much better. So if they do not have the question, so Sophie, would you like to share something again, or and then we'll
yeah, actually, like talking about the language, I would like to say something. Actually, like, so after graduate, like after working few years in US, I was like really thinking about either to stay or leave this country, going back to China, But compare these two countries. I think I see both sides of each country. So from like career perspective, I think like right now, China, like in architecture, this industry, it has more opportunities, and it's developed very fast, and you get learn very fast. But from like in US, the lifestyle is more like a chill and laid back, it's like less stressed, and from like a perspective of like a lifestyle, I think US has a better balance between like working and living. But the problem of like staying US is like you have a very limited, how to say, social circle. Like it's everyone is very independent, and your social network is very hard to expand. But this, if you back in China, then it's very easy to make tons of like good friends, like maybe probably in a couple months, and you get to find your maybe your future partners very soon. So this is like one of the difference. And the other concern I want to really talk about is the language. So although like I have no problem like for daily communication, but it depends on the job. Like architects need to do lots of like coordinations between like all kinds of engineer consultants, like maintaining client relationships, like selling ideas. It's like a seller and tons of presentations to do all the times and negotiations. So the more I grow in this career, like I found more limitations on language and more disadvantage that I found working as a foreigner here. So this is like, you know, I just wanted to be honest that if you decide to stay like forever, you know, become American, this is probably the problem you're gonna face. And for my like, if you ask for my suggestion, then I would say like staying for a couple years, like working here, gain some experience is very, very necessary and uh, you know, nice, but don't postpone too long. And like you got back to the place where you grow up, and that is probably the place that you could find much more opportunities there. So yeah.
Okay. So any questions? So thanks, Sophie. Thanks, Peter. That's great sharings, and this is a really, really good time. I would like to extend it longer, but we do not find it more the countries as well. Because it's sharing with our alumni, and also see though you know you guys growing up with a really rich, you know, the life and you know adventures. I do hope I can get back to your age. Okay. So I'm telling the next round is the Mr. You know, Ngaho. He's a ceramic student. He's working in ceramic now in Hong Kong. And we have the new college from Japan, but he's a Briton, so a British. And Dr. Michael Whiten. So we talk about the further study in Japan on 18 August, so, you know, the same time. Well, see you later. Thank you.
See you. Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.